Hello, my name is Emma Stowe. Thank you for listening. You are so welcome here. In this home run that is 2020, breathing is so important right now. Staying centered is so important right now. So just remember our connection with Mother Earth, with the planet we're sharing this life with, because this connection is so significant to this time. And particularly the solstice is a definitive time in the life of our planet. The solstice is a powerful time and it has long been considered one. That's why the sacred sites are aligned to the solstice is the point of rebirth of the sun, the point of renewal. What happens in the solstice is that the sun lines up from the earth, the sun, where we see the sun, it lines up to the center of the galaxy. And so the consciousness that emanates from the center of the galaxy is a very powerful force that in that alignment and aspect of our planet and our physical experience is awakened or reawakened through that. And according to the astrophysicist Paul Laviolette, there is a star at the center of the Milky Way, and it's believed to contain up to 1 million solar masses and to be about 20 million times as luminous as the sun. So that is some star, and Paul Laviolette calls it the mother star, and I love that. I call it the mother star too. So it's the galactic mother star. So our sun lining up with the galactic mother star at the solstice. And this is happening over this time as well, but it's specific to this era that we're in. The earth turns the corner around the sun, and there's 3 days where you see the sun rising in the same position in the horizon. So those 3 days, that alignment, the point of rebirth and the galactic alignment has a say in the next stage of life here on our mother planet. So why is this so significant in 2020? That is because of these two planets, Saturn and Jupiter. So Saturn and Jupiter have been in Capricorn all year, but Saturn did cross into Aquarius briefly earlier in the year, so we have had a taster of this. But these planets are going to form an exact conjunction. Conjunction is when two planets come together. An exact conjunction on the day of the solstice, the 21st of December, at 0 degrees Aquarius. The energies of these planets are almost polar opposite. Right? So Saturn is about contraction, limitation, obstacles and trials, and Jupiter is about growth, expansion and opportunity. So you've got these two things coming together, and it's really about opposites meeting in that solstice gateway. And that is about how this rebirth is going to come from the meeting beyond differences, the meeting beyond opposites. And I'm looking at the evolutionary dynamics that are supporting the life of the planet, because obviously there are the shadow aspects, the darker aspects that are working against this. So Saturn also represents control, for example, and also the obstacles that we face. And there's been a lot of Saturn this year. We've had Saturn, Pluto. There's been really a lot of Capricorn as well. So we've been facing a lot of what Saturn is really about, lessons. Saturn's about accountability. Saturn, the message of Saturn is accountability will set you free. And this has been what I've seen almost the message of 2020, because, or not just of that, it's really the dynamic of human growth and maturity, and we need that. We need that maturity to be able to serve, to be able to support life and love as it needs to be expressed and lived. We need that to understand the accountability. Being accountable gives us the ability to support life in that way, in our own personal experience and for others. And it's quite missing in many ways in our culture. So this is a big learning curve for many of us, where we're having to face ourselves. So the process of evolution itself for us humans is one of growth through facing ourselves. And I mean that by honesty is a big part of our freedom, honesty and accountability. And this is just, I'm just articulating the themes also of this really last stage of these planets, or these planets in Capricorn. Saturn and Jupiter are still there until the 21st of December, and in that time it's a moment of reckoning. And that's not to be feared. It's not, reckoning isn't judgment. We need to take the judgment out. I think that's why people fear accountability, because accountability isn't punishment. It's being able to acknowledge the aspects of your behavior or your past that were harmful. We're moving into a time when our energetic awareness is really enhanced. So you can't also judge a lot of the past by your present, a lot of your past by your present, because people of my generation now, for example, what was the norm when we were younger, we now see it was maybe not the greatest expression of relating, but that's the best that we knew at that time. It's understanding what matters now, and this is what all the influx of these energies coming through, because we're also moving through the magnetic field of the galaxy itself. This is pretty amazing, and you can see what Rory Duff says about this. But just like the solar system has a magnetic field, the heliosphere, the galaxy does too, and this is really significant for the energetic shift. But I'll let you look into that more if you're interested. But I've been feeling a lot of this galactic energy coming in the last few weeks, and it really is determining a lot of the physical changes we're going through. And every time we're exposed to a higher vibrational kind of basically cosmic energies, I mean, they're designed to transform us on a physical level, but that physical transformation is an emotional process in itself, because whatever doesn't match that vibration is released in our cells, from our cells. And that process is almost of reliving, or at least a kind of awareness of wrong behavior, either directed at us or us directing. That, probably both. So it's a real time of reckoning, because we can't carry this baggage on this planet anymore. The Earth is designed to receive all this kind of toxic energy, but she is also purging herself of a lot of the toxic energy and some history as well. So it's this really beautiful relationship taking place. We're all working together in this. And we're beautifully designed to do this, because what I noticed was that receiving all this galactic energy, that it was really intense. About a week ago, I had to go outside and walk with bare feet in the land, and in November in England, that's just crazy, just to ground it. And what I noticed was when I was listening was that we're translating the energy for Mother Earth. So it's like part of what we do as these beings, these intermediaries between heaven and earth, is we kind of translate this energy for Earth, and what we need she provides, and what we provide she needs, ideally. And it can be like that, this beautiful reciprocal relationship. So back to the astrology, looking at, and this is very much about the Aquarius. So again, with these planets moving into Aquarius, about understanding the dynamic of reciprocity, and how we are moving back into that original design. The stages of that are, as I said, this facing ourselves, this accountability, and then an awareness of what relationship is, of those precious connections, and how do we support those connections, and how does that relationship work in a global capacity. And thinking about Aquarius and moving into the Aquarian age, over the years I've been, because I could see the future of the planet was about how we work together as groups, and it's not a competitive strategy anymore. It's about service and sovereignty. And interestingly, this is the most powerful activator or sustainer and container of sovereignty, because a sovereign individual is powerful, but a group of sovereign individuals, or what you could call individuated individuals, or whole people who've integrated that, so that they're not just driven by their ego. So you can still have an ego, but you're not just driven by that. You've shifted from the ego to genuinely connecting to the true path of service, which is what everybody longs for and is here for. But there's that whole process of negotiating the ego to get to that point, and that's one of individuation, of integration, of wholeness, and bringing all the disparate sides of us together. And one person like that has such a huge impact energetically on the world, because they're existing out of separation, and separation is fear and suffering. It's a kind of false paradigm, so that we're moving out of. And anything really false, it needs a lot of energy to hold that in place. Whereas when you step into wholeness, individuation, sovereignty, it doesn't need any force, or it doesn't cause depletion, because it's using energy the way it's designed. It's using the infinite life force that flows through every soul. Why this relationship with the self is so important is that when we can integrate all these different aspects of our physical, emotional, and energetic world, we bring the worlds together within ourselves. And that actually teaches us how to bring the worlds together outside of ourselves, which is also what we're here to do at this time. And this is what I see the message to be of this conjunction in Aquarius, is we learn about social integration or integration through making that a reality for ourselves. And then that's how we learn how to bring it outside of ourselves. We can't know the value of integration if we're still needing to project. And so this is a huge turning point when you're owning your own emotional responses and doing this. Understanding when you are projecting or where that's coming from, if it's coming from a place of pain, and actually going in to address that. So this emotional work and coming to experience that integration then actually allows us to be able to listen to others, which is such an important part. And the other part of this astrology of the solstice is the sun is conjunct Mercury. Mercury is communication, and it's also listening. And relationships are forged through listening. Listening sometimes to what we don't want to hear. So bearing in mind that, yes, we can understand these dynamics and what brings about the change, and at the same time it can be really frustrating when you don't see that around you and you really want to form the group consciousness in the group community. It's really important that we just trust in the timing of this as well. People have to come to this in their own way, in their own time, seeing who they are and respecting where they're at. That's an aspect of grace. We have all been the beneficiaries of grace. So it's also our way of offering that back to the source of grace itself. So as I was saying about the group, this Aquarius theme of group consciousness, the group dynamic, and the global citizen, becoming a global citizen, and because of the energetic changes, it's going to be much more obvious how what's happening on one part of the world is relevant to us. Like this time last year we saw this virus in China. Next thing it's not just over there anymore. Integration facilitates connection. That is like how we get to experience the relationship to our planet. It's how we get to be energetically in our center. It's how we get to experience our relationship with ourselves, how we get to know ourselves as divine. So this process is really significant because it's actually how we're accessing our true nature. And by the way, this process is utterly supported. So everyone's at different stages of this right now on the planet. They would have to be. And, you can make it easier by going with it. And there is a great freedom on the other side of it. It's just like learning, like anything else. It's learning. It's sort of going against everything we may have learned or what we needed to be successful in society, and having to learn to trust ourselves actually more than what we've been taught. And that's really something that, we can all find our way back to that, especially if we're willing, because we will get the support that we need and that we ask for if we're sincere about that. But as I was saying, one individual like that, connecting with others who are also whole, integrated, and able to genuinely serve in action that is just beyond personal gain. So it's about these sovereign beings joining forces, and genuinely that cannot be controlled energetically. So that creates a kind of field. It's super powerful, and there's templates of this. So I've been observing different templates of this. I'm happy to talk to you more about that if you're interested, but I've been learning from those to see, because at one point I'd spent years trying to establish this, and and failing. And then I found actually others doing it, and I went and just learned from them. And I found them in some unlikely places, like in the spoken word community in London. You know, not necessarily in the spiritual world, and other places too. So it's possible and it's happening, and that is the way forward. That's really what we're moving into. We're moving then into that collaborative existence, and the learning is pooled in that way. So it's like we're so much greater as groups, as this network. And we'll be learning a lot from people very, very different from us. So again, with Aquarius, it's about the experience of spending time with people very different from you, listening to them. So again, Mercury, listening to them. But maybe your goal is a shared one, your vision is a shared one, so we're aligned through our visions of the world and our commitment, and that transcends the difference in our beliefs. Then that's like the global community, and we're spending more time with people from different cultures or different ages, and we're finding the way forward together. So the way forward is one of togetherness. We've got 2 eclipses leading up to this solstice. So we just had the lunar eclipse, and then we've got a solar eclipse on the 14th of December. So this is a really potent time anyway. Eclipses are times of revelations and great change. So we've got these 2 eclipses, and then we've got as well the other aspect on the day of the solstice on the 21st that is direct at 23 degrees Aries and Capricorn is Mars and Pluto. So Mars is in Aries and Pluto is in Capricorn. This aspect will be direct on that day. And that's such a powerfully transformational combination, because Pluto is the planet of rebirth and Mars is the instigator, it's action. I mean, that is really the active point of rebirth. Right in the solstice, it's like Mars coming in and just switching that Pluto aspect. That's the last time actually that Mars will be squaring Pluto. So this is the end of that planetary transit. It's been happening for the last few months. So it's like almost like the conclusion of those themes that accompany that. It's also about the theme Pluto. It's about power, and it's power is how it's used, how it's misused, and how we embody our own spiritual powers. You know, on the highest level, this is quite significant, and it's testing as well, because with Pluto, obviously, you see the darker undercurrents that play. And again, this is such an extreme experience looking at this chart, because you know Saturn and Jupiter right together like that, and then Mars square Pluto right at the same time. It's a definitive turning point. The beginning of the end of that closure of the old paradigm, and the misuses of power that have accompanied that. And to be honest, just don't know what's going to happen from one day to the next between now and February. And I don't think it's really worth even trying to guess or speculate. Personally, I think sometimes that can be a distraction from what's happening when you can live it from the day-to-day basis. And I really encourage everyone to stay with Mother Earth on this journey, because it's incredible. I mean, I've never experienced anything like what's taking place on this planet this year, and even though it's challenging and testing, it's actually a tangible experience of the liberation that I have felt has always been an invitation of this lifetime, but never really thought that it could happen. And now that reality is something that I don't question. Partly because to talk about my experience with Earth, because for me, the Earth attained her own sovereign state in March this year, and I feel that there's been a lot of celebration since then. There's been a lot of purging from her body, but there's been a lot of celebration, and so a lot of the anger and suffering I feel coming more from the human level, or maybe the animal and plant level, but I'm not experiencing that from Earth. And there's a great deal of anticipation for this solstice. It feels like a lot of great light and an influx of great light, and a tremendous celebration for what is about to take place, what is taking place, because this has been so long in the making, so much heartfelt intent and action and risk, and over centuries to arrive at this point where we get to experience this. And I think whatever happens, just to experience such a huge change on Earth is no coincidence that we're all here now. And those of you who are consciously in service, which is probably most of you watching this, now is your time. We need your voice, and to drop that outside identity. It's time that you take your place, recognize the opportunity is there now for you to step in, because it's these templates of possibility, like the groups, like you understanding your soul's purpose, or the call of service here, and just embodying that and embracing the relationship of support from the earth and from the divine in that process. It's I mean, our ancestors dreamt of this. And one thing I noticed in my sessions actually over the last few weeks, some ancestors arriving and really asking for them to be happy for them, because a lot of people feel that because their ancestors suffered so much that they don't deserve that, but the ancestors are really wishing them to experience joy for them, because they didn't have that opportunity. So, and we if we do have the chance to experience happiness, or make choices that shift the course of our life to one that supports our fulfillment, and then we're moving closer to that 0 point, where then we'll be stepping into that 0 point where we're not being depleted anymore. We're fully centered, and we're just living from that the natural state, the 0 point. So we're giving and receiving in equal measure, which is how love is designed. So if you really want to also understand natural law, how can my living presence serve the earth? Then really just listening to how love can thrive in your world, in your life, how and seeing and just and it personally I find it often very surprising because again, you know, the mind and the ego often doesn't understand the language of love. And we're dealing with the mystery here that goes far beyond what the intellect can grasp. And and again, this is the process of bringing these different worlds together within us, because we need our mind, we need our intelligence, we need our brains intelligent, we need focus and directive agency, and we need also to be humble always in the face of love, where there are no answers or explanations, and have that be part of our world too. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, maybe put them in the comments section below and I'll answer them either in the comments section. I can make another video, because if you tell me what you want to know specifically about the astrology of the solstice, yeah, just leave some questions and I'd be happy to answer, because I'm very excited about this turning point. I'm so glad to be sharing it with you. And yeah. So love you, my friends, and stay well, take care of your hearts, and I see you.